each element on the web page has a different addresses, and those addresses are nothing but locators. And what are they used for in automation code? They are used for identifying web elements uniquely, means differently. The locator which you write for this element will be different from this. Likewise, the address of the houses. In the way that how each house has an unique address, similarly, a particular website having multiple elements like multiple houses, each element has different address. So for identifying each element on the web page, we use locators. Very important. Then you have identified the element. Then after identifying, what you will do? If you observe the yesterday's automation code, I have identified the element. Thereafter, I have performed one action. So this particular website, upon opening, will ask for username and password. So I have observed the element. Thereafter, I have performed one action. What is the action which I performed here? This is the input text box, which it asks for the username. So that action which I performed is I have entered that username. Similarly, for the password, which is a text box, I have done one action. Which is that action? I have entered password. If you observe, upon opening the browser window, it opened that URL and it automatically entered the username in the username text box only, not in the password text box. Similarly, it entered the password in the password text box only, not in the username text box. So what is the another use after identifying the element uniquely on the web page? It has to perform action. So that action may be clicking or sending is nothing but entering username and passwords. Or there are a lot more actions which we will be seeing in the further classes. So especially locators are addresses, identifying web elements uniquely on the web page, and perform actions on those web elements. So these are the things which a locator does. Addresses of elements on the web page. So where you will find the addresses? Or I can say locators. Before going to this, let me show you one example, one diagram. How many types of locators are there? Or how many types of addresses of an element are present? So these are different types of locators, nothing but normal locators or locators, customized locators. So we can identify any element on the web page by using normal locators as well as customized locators. When I say locators are normal locators, so these locators can be easily identified on the HTML code of the web page. I will let you know what is the HTML code, how we can go to that HTML code in a while. But before that, these are types of locators. So for any element on the web page, you will find easily normal locators. Customized locators, you have to write your own XPath. That don't worry, you will get to know in a while. So every element will have ID, name, link text or partial link text, class name or tag name. So you will use these combinations and you will frame CSS selector as well as XPath. Don't worry, you will get to know whenever we are discussing HTML on the inspector tab. Then each element on the web page, or simply I can say every web page is defined by using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Hypertext markup language, cascading style sheets, JavaScript. If you observe, this is the website, nothing but Amazon website, or you can go for Flipkart website. Flipkart, Amazon, every web page in this world is designed by using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Very important. Then, what is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. What is it used for? So, HTML is used for defining static elements on web page. Then, what is the use of CSS? CSS is used for styling the web page. Simply, I can say, for a bride or a groom, makeup is important. So that makeup in the web page, for looking it beautiful, is done by cascading style sheets, CSS. Then, what is JS? JS is nothing but JavaScript. What is its use? JavaScript is used for providing dynamic functionality for the web page. So what is the dynamic functionality? If you enter a wrong username or a password, you will get a pop-up here. When you observe, when you are logging into any website, what you will get? You will get a pop-up that if you entered wrong username or password, it will try to show, please enter valid credentials. Like that, it will try to give us a message. So that message is nothing but a dynamic functionality, which is done by JavaScript. So in the JavaScript, we are having a lot more things like React.js. And coming to the backend, we have Node.js. Likewise, there are a lot of things which we are not discussing them here. We are only confining to HTML, CSS as well as JavaScript. So every web page is designed by HTML, CSS as well as JavaScript. Then how will I get to know the HTML code? Because the locators which you see here, for every element, we can identify that element by using ID or by using name or by using link text, class name, tag name or CSS selectors or by using XPath in the HTML. We can observe that. Then how can you find the details of the web element? So if I want to find the details, I want to go to HTML code of the web page. HTML code of the web page. What is the HTML code and where I can find that? So HTML code is nothing but defining static elements on the web page, and I can find the HTML code as well as CSS also in Inspector tab. You can go to Inspector tab, you can right click and click on the inspect, or click on these three dots, go to more tools, go to developer tools. If you go to developer tools, you will get the HTML code of this particular web page. Not only this particular web page, every web page, if you want to observe the HTML code, right click and go to inspect, or click on these three dots, more tools, developer tools. So in this particular inspector tab, you will find elements. Under the elements, you will find HTML code of this particular website. Then I will make you understand how you can observe any element or find any element by using those HTML code. Don't worry. As we discussed, normal locators or locators, very important, can be directly found on HTML code of the web page. This is the HTML code of this particular website, and every element on this website can be identified or found in the HTML code. If you observe, I am just identifying this login button. Click on this highlighter. Click on this login. If you observe, this button got highlighted. Similarly, you can identify another element. Click on this. If you see this particular HTML code snippet, this is the HTML code of the web page. In that HTML code, this is a part which only defines this particular element. So, in this way, each element, web element, can be identified in the HTML code. Coming to normal locators, we can found directly. Coming to customized locators, these locators are not found directly on the web page. So instead, you have to use the combinations of normal locators. If you know normal locators, customized locators are very easy. You will use the combination for CSS selector. For CSS selector, you will use tag name and ID combination, tag name and class combination, tag and attribute combination, tag, class and attribute combination. That's it. So knowing the normal locators is very important. Customized locators can be directly found in the HTML. This is the HTML. You will not found directly the customized locators. We have to write our own locators by using some tools. You can use some tools like selector sub, or you can write your own locators also. We will see both the methods, how you can use some tools which they will make you life very easy, or you can write your own locators also. When we are discussing these customized locators, I will make you understand. You just observe this particular code snippet or HTML of this a random website which I have taken. In that particular website, this is the login panel. This is the login panel. In the login panel, you have username and you have password. And for this login panel, for this page, this is the HTML code. Upon inspecting like this, you will get the HTML code like this. If you observe, this is the HTML code, and in the HTML code, this is the part of the HTML code which is defining this particular password element. So that is the reason you have ID is equal to div password. So common sense, we can say that it is regarding to the password element, and it has class also, ID as well as class attributes. If you observe this particular HTML code, or you can take this particular HTML code, not only this, you can take any HTML code snippet. This is the HTML code snippet which you are seeing here. Name is equal to input, name is equal to txt username, ID equal to txt username, type is equal to text. This is the HTML code snippet of username text box. And I'm just making with a bigger picture here. This is the HTML code snippet. So if you observe, every element can be identified in the HTML code, and this is the part of that HTML code which will only identify this particular username element. If you observe, HTML code will starts with anchors like greater than and less than. In between that, you will have the HTML code. So every element on the web page has a tag in the HTML. Let me write that point, very important. Every element, very important. Username is one element, password is one element, login is also one element. So every element has a tag name in the HTML line. What is the tag name? For text box, you will have input. So text box accepts some value. So if it is accepting, you need to give. If you are giving, that is nothing but you are inputting a value. So directly you can say that a text box in the HTML code has an input tag. Has an input tag. And let me write that point as well, you will understand. And which has certain attributes. Every element on the HTML has a tag name. When I say element, that means or a tag name. So every element on the web page is defined by using a tag name. So here if you observe this, input is the element which is nothing but a tag name. Which is nothing but a tag name. So every element has a tag name. The first thing in the particular website, upon inspecting, you'll have the tag name. Go to this particular website. You observe this text box. Search is nothing but a text box. Right click and click on inspect. If you observe that search is a text box in the Flipkart website, text box will have input as a tag. Input as a tag. Or for button. So for button, you will have button as a tag name. So element or tag name. That's what I am trying to convey you. Every HTML line of that particular element will have tag name. Tag name here is nothing but element. And every element which has tag name has certain attributes. These attributes will be used for identifying the elements. ID, name, link text or partial link text, class name or tag name. So every element has certain attributes. What are the attributes? Name is one attribute, ID is one attribute, type is one attribute. Three things which you need to understand. Every element has a tag name, right? And every element has certain number of attributes, and each attribute will have a value. Each attribute has a certain value. Every element has certain number of attributes, and each attribute has certain value. Go to this any website. This is a search box. Let me inspect. If you observe, input is the tag name of this particular element. Type is attribute. ID is attribute. Value name is attribute. Autocomplete, placeholder, class, tab index, area label has attributes. So every element on the web page has a tag name, attribute, and each attribute has a certain value. Every element has a tag name in the HTML line, and every element has a certain number of attributes. Each attribute has a value. Tag name, attribute or property, and a value to that attribute. Attribute is also called as a property. Attribute is also called as a property. And what are the examples of tag names? There are a lot more elements present in the websites. So there are some examples of tag names like input, div, span, form, select, image, a, etc. Different tag names you will find on the HTML code. So only you need to do is you need to inspect that website and you need to get the appropriate tag names. Then you take this particular example. So this is some image of some random website. So in this random website, these are the elements: register, login, wishlist, shopping cart, and search store is the search box, and search is the button which you are seeing in this particular image. And this is the HTML code of the search store. So for this search store, This is the HTML code. For the search button, this is the HTML code. And for this search store, you have input is the tag name, type, class, ID, autocomplete, name is the attributes. Each attribute has a value. And for the button, this is the HTML code snippet. You will have button tag name, type, class are the attributes, and each attribute has a value. And this is nothing but an inner text, which I will be discussing in another class. Right now, each element in the HTML has a tag name and has certain attributes, and each attribute has a value. Then, in this class, we will be discussing ID and name locators. ID and name locators. So, every element which has tags, tag name or attributes, in the attributes, if you observe, you have ID is one attribute and name is one attribute. Right now, we will see how I can find this particular element by using ID or by using name. In this class, I am only defining to ID and name only. If you observe, this is the code which I used in the automation script. So, I am finding the element by using ID, by using name. So, how I can find in Selenium? For this, I need to use find element. For finding any element, I need to use find element method. I need to use find element method. By which locator I am finding? By ID I am finding. By name I am finding. So that is the reason I have to use by dot ID. If I am finding that element by name, I will use by dot name. So by dot ID, I am finding this particular element by ID. So ID is the attribute. So for this attribute, small search items is the value. So every element has unique attributes. If you observe, type, class and ID, autocomplete, they are not same. Only one ID, one class, one type is present. So by unique ID, which has these small search items, I'll specify in the double quotes. And since it is a text box, it accepts input. So what I'm doing for giving the input to this text box, I'm just using send keys. I'm just using send keys. When I use send keys, this automation code will send this particular text into this particular text box. This particular text box identified by using ID. Suppose if there is name attribute, this is the Q is the value. So instead of ID, if I want to identify this particular element by name, what I will do? I will use by dot name, and for this name attribute, I have Q as the value. I will specify Q. So two ways I can identify, not only two ways, there are a lot more ways you can come to your home. Likewise, you can identify the same element. But in this class, I am discussing only ID, name locators, and link text and partial link text. So we will identify with the help of this. We identified by using ID, by using name, and right now what we will identify, we will use link text or partial link text. Link text or partial link text. So link text, partial link text. Link text is the one locator, partial link text is the another locator. ID, name, link text, partial link text are a part of normal locators. ID, name, link text and partial link text. These are part of normal locators. And tomorrow we will discuss class name, tag name and CSS selectors. Thereafter we will discuss XPath. Right now ID, name, link text and partial link text. So link text, that element is a link. So for that link in the HTML I have a text. So every element which is a link in any website will have tag name as A. I'm just noting that point here. Every link in HTML will have anchor tag A. Very important. Every link, go to Flipkart, observe this login. So this is the link. So when I click on this, it will navigate to another page. So any element upon clicking will navigate to another page is nothing but a link. So for links, always you will have tag as a anchor tag. So for every link in the HTML, you will have link text. This is the link text. For every link on the web page, you will have text. In this Amazon website, sorry, Flipkart website, you will have, this is the link. For this link, you will have the text as login. This is the link text for this link. Or go to Amazon website. If you observe, if you click on this, it will navigate to another page. Let me inspect this. So this is nothing but this element is also a link. So for every link, you will have link text. So you can identify this particular element which is a link by using link text. Similarly, if you see this particular HTML code snippet, which is a link which has link text. Every element which is a link, nothing but when you click on that particular element, it will navigate to another page. If it is navigating to another destination, it is nothing but a link. When I say link, every link has anchor tag A, tag name or tag. We'll have A for the link, and for every link we have link text. For every link in the HTML, we have a link text. Link text, very important. For every link, we are having a link text. So when I take the part of this, a slice, a piece of this text, it is nothing but partial link text. So for identifying elements or element in the automation script in Selenium, you will use find element for finding the element, driver dot find element. You will initialize a driver variable, and by the driver variable, you will try to use the methods. You will use find element. So you are finding by using link text. So that is the reason you will specify by dot link text. If you are identifying by ID, you will use by dot ID. By name, by dot name. If you are identifying that by using class, by dot class, you will specify. I am identifying that by using partial link text. I will use by dot partial link text. So I am observing this element in the two ways by using link text. So what is the text we are having for this link? Register. I have used the register. And partial link text is nothing but a part of link text. So this is the link text. In this, what is the part? Reg is the part. What is the another part? I can say GIS is another part, or STER is another part. So I can use the parts of a link text. Any specific part I can use. If I use any specific part of a link text, it is nothing but a partial link text. So most probably we will use link text and partial link text locators to identify links. In general, for identifying links, we use link text and partial link text only. Part of link text is called partial link text. So always on a link, we perform click action. Always on a link, we perform click action. Very important. And link text is different. Inner text is different. Very important point. Only for links, you will have link text. But if it is a link, you will have anchor tag A. If it is not a link, if it is any other element, instead of A, you will have input button like that. If you observe this particular HTML code snippet, This is some HTML code. In the HTML code, you have button as a tag name, A as a tag name. So every element which is having a tag name as A is a link. Every link will has link text register. And if you observe, other than link text, other than anchor tag, if you find any element, any tag name, it is nothing but it is not a link. And for every element, as like link, you'll have text. This is nothing but a inner text. Only for a link, you'll have link text. Other than links, you will have inner text. So if you see, inner text is the search, and for the link, it is having link text. So register is the link text. In this way, inner text is different, link text is different. And very important point, we are discussing about normal locators. Normal locators, nothing but ID, name, link text and partial locators used to identify single web element. There are lot of elements in the particular web page, but each locator, by using ID, name, link text or partial link text, used to identify a single web element every time, because most of the times ID, class, not class, ID, name, link text or partial link text will be unique, will be different from each other, each element. So ID, name, link text and partial link text used to identify a single web element every time on the web page. Let me make you understand with simple example. Let me close this. Let me create day 18 directory. Let me create locators1.py Python file. So yesterday we have seen from Selenium package we have imported WebDriver, and this you will understand in a while, don't worry. And we have capabilities, desired capabilities. Those are nothing but options. So for each browser, for Chrome browser, we have Chrome options. For Edge, we have Edge options. For Firefox, we have Firefox options. So what I have done, I have imported this from WebDriver module, Chrome options. Since I am automating these on Chrome browser, I'm just importing that Chrome option specific to that browser. What I have done thereafter, I have assigned it to a options variable. And nowadays, the Selenium WebDriver, if I don't use this add experimental option, detach and true, it will open the browser and it will directly close automatically. But it should not be the case. When I open the browser, until unless I give driver.close, it should not close. So for making it open all the time, until unless I close, I give a command. I will use add experimental option. In the options, in the WebDriver Chrome options, I have this particular method or a function. For this function, it accepts two parameters, detach and true. I have used that. This is the basic schema which I want to set before writing any automation script. And in the WebDriver only, I have Chrome browser. I have assigned it to a driver variable. So with the help of driver variable, initializing a driver variable is important, very important. With the help of driver variable only, you will open any website, you will maximize with the help of driver variable, and thereafter you will perform all the things which you want. So right now, I'm just opening this particular website and thereafter maximizing. Let me run this particular locator 1. If you observe, it has opened and it has maximized that particular browser window, and thereafter it has closed that browser. And if you observe, or if you go to this particular website, in this particular website, this is the element which I want to perform some action, which you are seeing here. I'm just identifying that particular element. This is the element, search store element, by using ID. If you inspect this is the code snippet which you seen here. So this is the input class ID placeholder. This is the HTML code which you are seeing here. And after sending the text into this particular text box, I need to perform the search action. Right? Let us try to use these particular things which we have used it earlier. If you observe, upon maximizing, I need to find that element by using ID. ID has this particular value, and thereafter I can find or send the text to this particular element. I am identifying the same element by ID or by name. Let me comment this. Let me execute this one more time. If you observe, it has entered the text after identifying and it has closed. Let me comment this for a while. If you observe, it has identified that search box and it has entered the text which I want to send. T-shirt, that has entered. So by using ID, I have identified that particular text box. But by using name, if I want to identify, how I can identify, how you can try to identify that. Try to comment this, try to uncomment the next one. So this is nothing but by name. I am identifying the same element and just passing the T-shirt. So try to run this. It has opened that particular URL, and thereafter, with the help of name attribute or name locator, it has identified this particular element and it has entered so and so text T-shirt which I want to enter. In the similar way, you can identify the search box and you can perform the click action. And after performing the action, you can try to close that particular browser. In this way, you can identify any element in the particular web page. So I am identifying the link text by using, suppose you take this register button. This register button is a link which has a link text of register. I can find that particular link by using link text. So that particular link is having register. So when I perform this driver.find element, I am just finding the element by using find element method. When I use link text, it identifies this element. Similarly, I can use part of that link text. I can perform the click action. Always on a link, we perform click action. In this way, we can automate, or we can find the element and we can interact with the element.